I'm Shaun Reynolds.
And I'm Rachel Reynolds.
And welcome to What Was I Made For?
The podcast about doing what you love and prioritising your happiness.
While we aim to inspire, motivate and entertain you, please note that we're not licensed therapists or certified experts.
So if you're considering major life decisions like starting a travelling circus or quitting your job to become a professional beekeeper, maybe get a second opinion.
Enjoy the show.
See, I just do what I want, do what I love. I don't wanna stop, don't wanna grow up. Just me being me, don't follow the crowd. Don't be a sheep, look at me now. But now it's time to make more, create more. Looking at the points, cause it's time to take score. Feeling like I'm grown now that I can face more. Got one question, what was I made for?
Welcome back, everyone, and happy Halloween. Is it Halloween today? No. Is it tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Sorry, happy Halloween Eve.
From... Why isn't your mask on?
Because...
Put it on. There we go. From...
Me, the skeleton.
Skeletor and Iron Man.
While I was getting ready today, I saw Shaun walk down the garden with our box of fancy dress.
Yeah,
and
happy... Oh, no.
Is it stuck on your hair? So, yeah, you made us wear costumes today.
Happy Halloween, everybody. All I can say is you don't want to see the bottom half of this costume.
You're in it like a little sausage. And I'm a very baggy skeleton because I think this is yours.
We are
There was like
in.
a sexy one in the box that I was like, nah.
I think you're fine. That's my one.
But this one is a bit warmer, so I've got your one on. It's very baggy.
So yes, happy Halloween, happy Wednesday. This is Rach's least favourite time of the year.
I just don't like Halloween. I don't like scary stuff. I don't really get the point of Halloween.
Yeah,
I'm just a bit of a Scrooge when it comes to Halloween. This whole week, all the other teachers have been like playing Halloween music for their warm-ups and stuff, and I was like, I am such a Scrooge. I didn't put one on.
What's a Halloween version of Scrooge? Spooge.
Like
Spooky Scrooge.
Spooky Scrooge.
A spooge.
Mm.
I just think it's important.
Just
What did I
going
say
with
to you
it.
the other day that I'd like to lean into the seasons.
Shaun wants to be more seasonal.
Yeah, I want to just get involved with the seasons a bit
Basically,
more.
he had a pumpkin spice latte and now he's seasonal.
And I don't, you know what? Pumpkin spice lattes, people lose their minds for them. I would say they're average at best.
Oh, they're very sweet,
Too
aren't
sweet
they?
for
Very
me.
sweet. Make me feel a bit sick.
Yeah.
But anyway, welcome back to another episode of What Was I Made For? We hope you've had a lovely week so far. Let's get straight into it with Inspiry Diary.
You went second last time. You can go first this time.
Okay. My Inspiry Diary. We had a moment at the school last week where the wonderful and our lovely friend Black Prez came and stayed with us for the weekend, and he came and popped into our boys class because he's got lots of like connections with the boys. He's written songs for them before.
Well, he's been down a few years ago. He came now, so they've kind of grown up knowing him and his music.
Yeah, they have. So yeah, he popped in to see them. But what I just love about him is I walked in during the warm-up. Lucy was warming them all up. And Prez is just like fully joining in with the warm-up, which there's always a bit of a stigma with boys and dance. I don't know if it will ever change. It is a shame, but it's just the way it is, and there's no point.
It's just at a certain age.
There's no point trying to change it. All we can do is create a safe space where they do feel like they can do something that they enjoy without judgment. And that is why we've kind of always kept our boys only class, because I do feel they need that like safety net in a way. But for them to see a grown man who I'm pretty sure they think is cool, like he is cool, but
cool.
you know, for
He's
kids to think that someone in their 30s is cool is quite like out there. But he is cool, and he was just like making a little bit of a fool of himself, trying to pick up all of these like warm-up moves. And I loved that in itself. That in itself was just like, he wasn't taking the mick out of it. He was actually like, he went, no, I genuinely needed to do some exercise, so I thought I'd join in. So for them to see him doing that, I thought would have been very inspiring for them. But then after the warm-up, I thought, oh, there are a couple of boys in here that actually don't know who he is. And this guy, this very tall guy, has just come in, joined in. And yeah, and they're probably thinking, who is this new member of our
He's far too
class?
old for the Jets.
Yeah. So after they'd done the warm-up, I kind of explained who he was to the other boys. And they all the new ones started asking him questions about like where he's from and where his songs have been featured. And what's really cool now is a lot of Prez's songs have been featured on games that the boys play. So that was really cool for them to hear that. And then one of them just put his hand up and was like, can you perform now? And I was, in my head, I was like, that's obviously a no. Like, he's not going to do that in a community hall in front of this small group of boys. Prez just goes, yeah.
Well, I think he was like, well, have you got a microphone? And we were like, well, actually, yeah, we do.
Yeah. So we got the microphone out and we hooked it up to the speaker, and the boys like all got a chair and made like an audience, and they got their phones out to film him. Some of them were like at the back of the room dancing away to Prez just rapping. And it happened to be, he didn't realise this, but it happened to be a song that the boys danced to in the show a couple of years ago. So a lot of them like knew the song, and it just, there was, like I said, the reason that this is my Inspiry Diary this week is because of the stigma with boys doing something like a street dance class, especially at the age that those boys are now. They're sort of age 13 plus. To just have somebody of the same gender come in who's made a career out of
the arts.
Mm-hmm. I think for the boys, they would have, I hope, just seen that, oh, like he's just doing this because he loves it.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully that kind of inspired them, even if it just means that they stick at this for a little bit longer and not listen to the comments of, you know, it's not cool to dance or whatever.
Yeah, well, from a spectator's point of view, it seemed like they had an amazing time.
It was brilliant. There's a video on our dance school socials, so go and check it out. That's my Inspiry Diary this week.
And also to end that, Prez will be on the podcast. We recorded an episode with him while he was here, and he will be on the podcast in about 3 weeks' time.
Yeah.
So you can look forward to that. It's a very, very good episode. Right. So yeah, my Inspiry Diary is I've just gone on a trip with my friends, with a couple of my oldest school friends. And we don't really do it a lot. We usually do it like once every Christmas. I'll go away with all my old schoolmates. But two of them messaged me and said, oh, we're going to Wales for a couple of days. Do you want to join? And so I went along, and it was just a well-needed getaway, chatting about life, getting to sort of know where each other are at right now, and having a good old chat about things. And yeah, it was less about work, more about just catching up with old friends and making sure everybody's all right, which I think is really important to do.
So important.
As you get older, you got to check in with the people around you. And yeah, so maybe not necessarily inspiring, more just came back feeling quite good about it, you know?
Just your diary then.
Just my diary. Yeah, no, but I do think it's important to do stuff like that.
It is.
To check in with people.
I don't know many, I mean, I always say this about you and your friends, like, I don't know many people who have managed to maintain the same group. It's quite a big group as well, really.
Yeah, very important thing to do. So if you've got, you know, if there's a friend out there that you haven't spoke to in a while, why not reach out?
Pick up the phone. I
feel like it's the Wolf and Owl podcast now.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah, so short and sweet for me this week.
Love it.
Right, moving on. The next section we have is What's the Scoop? Today's question...
For anyone not watching, or just listening, it's because Shaun can't use
my
his Iron Man hands to open the bit of paper. Is it mine or yours?
It's one of yours. Realistically, do you genuinely believe it's never too late to do what you love for a living?
Realistically being the key word. I remember when I wrote this, the reason I wrote it was we sometimes get listeners have messaged us in the past or commented in the past. And I feel like what they're getting at is this is all well and good, guys. This is all lovely and, you know, follow your dreams and all of that. But, you know, some people are at the stage in life where they're not doing what they love, but they have got children, mortgages, bills to pay, and other responsibilities that it probably just seems like the ship has sailed, which is why I wrote that question.
Yeah.
Realistically, is it never too late to do what you love? I'd love to know like your take on it first, and then I'll say sort of what I think.
Realistically, when you get to a certain age and you have certain responsibilities, realistically, I don't think you can just drop everything and start something new. I don't think that works. Mm-hmm. But then even younger than us, I don't think that's the case. As soon as you start getting locked into a life where you have things to pay for, it's not as easy to just be like, right, well, I'm just going to pack in my job and do something else, because it takes time, as we both know, to start a business and sustain that business over time. So realistically, no, it's not possible to just drop everything and move on unless you win the lottery or come into some money somewhere.
Yeah.
Because that is also an option for a lot of people as you get older. I think what is most likely for people is, I think I've said it other times on the podcast, is starting it on the side and keeping it ticking over. I think realistically it's possible to start something on the side at any point.
Yeah, I agree. You
can carve out an hour, even if it's just an hour a week, just set aside an hour a week just to do that thing you've always dreamed of and let it build naturally. As it starts to grow, you'll then be able to allocate more time to it because there might be some income coming in from it.
I think we said this only a couple of weeks ago about how if there is something that's sort of like ticking away in your brain as something like, oh, I'd love to write a book. Like that's just randomly come to my mind, but I'd love to write a book, but the end goal just seems so not obtainable. Like
too far away.
I can't imagine that book physically in my hand, and how much is that going to cost me to get it to that stage? And then what? And what if no one buys it? Or what if blah, blah, blah? That's where I think that's why people don't just give things a go, because they think too much of the end goal.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure everything I've ever started, I've never had the end goal in mind. I don't think I have. I've never, like, take when I set up my fitness classes, for example. Did I start them and imagine owning my own gym or having this huge franchise that was going to be like some empire that I was going to live off? No. I literally was like, kind of want to just set up a little class because I've got a bit of an interest for fitness and I love teaching people and I get a bit of a buzz out of it, and I'm just going to do that. And it'll get you a bit of
money as well.
And I think, at the time, I think I was like, oh, if I charged everybody £5 I think I charged £5 on the door. I literally had a cash box open on the door and people just walked in. I think I've told this story before. And then I found out someone wasn't paying. It was really awkward. So I think what I'm getting at is, I completely agree with you. I think people who are maybe sat there with their 2-3 children, a mortgage and a full-time career that they don't necessarily want, but they need that income. It's obviously not the most realistic thing to be like, but I really wanted to be on the West End tap dancing, so I'm going to just quit my job, not feed my kids and just try and make it. Like, that is not realistic. However, let's take that same example of a person who wished that they were tap dancing on the West End. Is it achievable to go and take a tap class and just like feed that passion again? Could that mean that actually you find you are still really talented at tap dancing, and maybe you go to a more advanced tap class, and then maybe if we're a school like ours, maybe there's a show attached to that where you actually get to be on that stage again. Like, there are different versions of what maybe your dream was once upon a time, but just because it's a different version, it will still fulfill that like passion that you had.
It'll scratch the itch.
Yeah, I just think there's other ways of, whether that is like reigniting a passion or whether that is starting something of your own. I don't think it's ever too late to have a project or do something for you. I feel like I see so many adults at the school who, especially like the ones who are parents, who have said to me that they have lost themselves a little bit since becoming parents. Like I've heard that a lot. And it might just be that by doing something small that is an interest of yours that actually isn't going to necessarily bring in loads of money, isn't going to be for anyone else, it is just for you. I just feel like so many people forget, like, you're still important, like you still have a life, you're still you still have your own interests, and even if it's not going to support your family, well, you're already doing that, so do something for you. Yeah,
I agree. I also think age is a big stigma for people. I think everyone thinks when they get to a certain age, it's not even about the responsibilities you have, it's they feel like they're past it, they feel like, you know, they missed the opportunity to do something. Whereas it was like the ones, was it last time we did an episode ourselves? No, 2 episodes ago, where I spoke about all the people of that were older when they got their big break.
Yeah.
It genuinely isn't too late to do stuff.
Yeah.
Try it. And like, if you have a real love or a passion, or you've always had a talent for something, just get stuck in again and just try and find whatever way, like Rach was saying, to get back into it. And yeah, it's never too late. If
what you're thinking, like say our conversation has sparked you right now listening to go, I am going to just give X a go. If there's no sort of huge financial risk attached to it, I think ask yourself more, why wouldn't I? Like, are you going to regret giving something a go that you might 6 months down the line go, that didn't work, or I didn't actually do anything with it, I just gave it a go. But, you know, there was no financial loss to it. There was no pressure on it. I really don't think anybody would go, why did I do that? But are you always going to go, oh, what if I gave that a go? Like, I just think that's a worse place to be than to just try something.
Yeah.
You know?
I totally agree.
So, and yeah, you're so right about that episode where you said about how old people were when they got their big break.
So what's the message? What's the moral here? Get out there, everybody. You're free to do what you want to do. You've got to live your life and do what you want to do. Let's get blasted.
What is that?
I don't know. I can't think of what Iron Man says.
I don't think it's that.
No, that's what Frank says on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Oh. That's the only thing I can think of with guns. Iron Man doesn't
have guns. Oh my God.
If you couldn't tell, I'm not the biggest Marvel fan ever. Let's get blasted.
I don't know what that is.
And I'm doing Spider-Man hands as well.
Yeah, you're just a big mix of everything. But you look great.
Thanks.
So we'll be putting that question out on social media for you guys to answer. Roughly, realistically, do you think it's ever too late to kind of pursue your passions? Or maybe you want to tell us what that little itch is that you want to scratch. I'd love to know. I think we've done something.
And ask us, should I do this? And I can pretty much guarantee the answer will be yes. Unless it's something we don't agree with.
So we move on to Right Back at Ya, and it's a bit of a funny one because the question on our last episode was, have you ever thought about giving up and following a more conventional career path? And we were going to put it out to all our listeners, but we weren't sure how many listeners were not already following a conventional career path. So we thought
a part of this works.
Instead, let's throw that question back to some of our past guests who have lovingly sent us their response. So,
yes.
And if you haven't heard any of these eps, maybe hearing what they answered to this question might make you want to go back and listen to everything else they had to say.
Yeah, so first up we have Alto Key.
Alto Key, or better known as Kian, who is a musician.
He said, there's been lots of times where I've had career lows along with the highs. I'm pretty self-aware though, and I recognise that nothing lasts forever, both good and bad. I usually do something fun, de-stress and treat myself before getting back on the horse. We're all only human. Oh,
I love that. I love that. Making when you're in that lull of, I feel like giving up, instead of staying in the
instead of wallowing in it.
Reward yourself.
Yeah, reward yourself and just get back on the horse. I
love that. Let me read one. So Prez, this is like a little teaser because his ep is coming out in a few weeks, but Prez said, who is, for anyone who doesn't know, a rapper. I don't know if I would really call it giving up, but I have always considered expanding, and that is something that I've been trying to do from time to time. I came to realise that nothing lasts forever, so I have been thinking of different things I can do that can help my career. Things like acting, hosting events, social media, (influencer), investing, etc. All things to help me earn money while still doing what I do. This is what I preach all the time.
Tell them, skeleton.
I'm going to tell them again. Parents of young people who want to go into the arts, who are terrified. I totally understand why you'd be terrified. It seems like a crazy, crazy choice and something that will never support them in life. But it is not a straight path. It's not like, them trees that are just straight up.
Well, this is what Rich said, isn't it?
It's got branches, and then off the branches it's got twigs, and then off the twigs it's got leaves,
and off the leaves,
little caterpillars. What I'm trying to say is, and Prez has just summed it up perfectly, on those times where you feel like giving up, adapt, grow, expand. That's what he said. Expand. Find a new path. If you got to the end of the twig and the leaf and there's nothing else there, turn around, go back down the twig, rejoin the branch and go off another one. There is so many options, but would you rather have a child who is happy doing what they love with a few dips and a few bumps in the road? We're on a road now. Sorry, the analogies are just left, right and centre today. Or would you rather, their paycheck's coming in month after month, but they're miserable, they don't enjoy it, they don't want to get up in the morning, and their creativity is just muted?
I love it. Can we do it again? I want another allergy, can you just redo the analogy, but spookier?
No.
Redo the analogy just a little bit spookier.
What, the tree?
Yeah. Do it skeleton. Do it like a skeleton.
But it's not a scary story.
I'll make it scary.
Okay. Deep in the woods on a winter's night, it was Halloween.
This feels the same as it's a Saturday evening.
Yeah, why'd you do this to me? For God's sake, do another one.
Next one is from Sam Lane.
Woohoo! Sam was like our second guest.
Who sent us a lovely voice note.
Oh yeah, let's listen.
Hello, I'm just answering while there's no noise. Oh my God, on so many occasions, particularly when I was younger and I was getting down for, I think I might have told this story when I was a guest, that I did 18 recalls in 3 weeks. And you're not told if you don't get the job. And at one point I was up for understudy the mum in Tommy, the musical, the Who musical. And it was out for me and another girl. And it's hours of your time, 5 recalls, learn this, learn that, learn the majority of the show, come back in. And I didn't get it. And a lot of the time they will tell you when you get right down to that kind of last 2 or 3, if you don't get it, you don't get a lot of feedback. And I remember I was waitressing in a restaurant and I was thinking I'm just going to give up because I kept getting right down to the last couple. and not getting the jobs. And then Trevor Nunn walked in to have a meal in there with his wife. And I thought, oh, he won't remember me from Starlight. And I sat him down at his table and he said, Sam, what are you doing now? And I said, oh, I think I'm about to give up, actually, because I'm just not getting any work. And he said, don't give up. That was the closest I've ever got to it. And the fact that somebody like him remembered who I was made me think, oh, I'll give it another shot. But loads of times now, you know, the last year has been disastrous for a lot of people. I don't think there's probably a day that goes past that I don't think, shall I just jack it in and say that's the end of it? But I can't, it would be too final. I can't put a full stop on it. So yes, to answer your question, often. But I don't think I'd feel like myself, because you know, apart from anything else, you just don't know what's around the corner. You just don't know if you get an advert or something that comes through that you're perfect for, but it's one in a blue moon. So yes, I think very often about giving up. Hope that answers your question. Bye.
I think that's a really important one for anyone currently in a similar line of work with Sam, where it's auditions.
Yep.
You're basically waiting for somebody else to give you the yes. Like, it's not, you know, you completely rely on a panel basically of casting directors.
If you're a stage performer or actor,
yes.
that is one of the careers in the arts that is very dependent on other people's influence.
But what's interesting about what Sam said is, if you are one of those people who is just auditioning constantly and just knock back after no, I think making sure that you have something that is bringing in money, even if it is something like waitressing, like Sam said, there are jobs out there that you might not ever see as like a career path, but you don't need to have that. You just need to have money coming in to sort of support yourself. Because I know I've just said I've sort of addressed parents to support your kids who want to go into the arts. But if you are that bit older and you're actually in it at the moment, like Sam said, it is, I think if you're one of those people, it's hard to put a full stop on it, to say, I am completely done. Whereas if you can kind of find something that supports you financially, it might just be round the corner.
It all comes down to how much you love the thing you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next one.
Yeah. So Jack Shepard, who is a
was episode
musician.
number 2, I think.
1. No. Oh, he was our first guest, wasn't he?
Was Jack
he was
episode?
Our first guest.
Jack's episode number 3.
Guest. Jack is a musician, a guitarist.
And I want to get Jack back in to do a video episode.
Oh yeah, that'll be good. That'd be nice. Okay, Jack. Yes, I have felt like giving up once. It was a few years back. I'd taken my eye off the ball in terms of the type of music I was making. I was only working on 1 or 2 projects and I wasn't really passionate about either of them. No one was calling me. I wasn't developing any meaningful relationships with anyone. I wasn't making good money. Within work, I was distant from my friends and I started to lose the love for the music itself. I remember Googling the cost of all my equipment if I sold it all. Oh my God.
He's got a lot of stuff as well.
Yeah. Got out of the hole by stopping for 2 weeks. I was pushing to try and improve my situation, but it wasn't working. Taking a break was so helpful. Working for free, I started a couple of ideas and projects I was passionate about, not for money, not for Instagram. This really helped. And I started working with friends again. One of those being you. I think he probably means you, Shaun, not me. You should have read this one.
I don't know. Have you and Jack got any projects coming out soon?
Wow, wouldn't you like to know? That gave me the love.
Saturday evening. Saturday evening. First single from Rachael Reynolds coming out this year.
That gave me the love back again. I'd never quit now. It was terrifying to consider it. Oh, Jack.
But I feel like everybody has to get to that point at some point. Sometime I think that when you get to that specific part, it's a maker or breaker.
Yeah. working for free. That's a really interesting one. That kind of proves,
we spoke about that in the last episode.
How
Working
much
for
you love
free
something
is so important when you're in the arts.
Yeah.
It teaches you a lot.
I'm loving these.
Yeah, very good.
I feel like I'm listening to our own podcast.
This is the last one, and it's from a good friend of ours who was on the podcast, Tommy Reynolds,
who is a photographer.
Tommy said, "I felt like giving up and choosing a more stable path more times than I can count. Being a freelance photographer for me means constantly battling self-doubt, questioning my work, and facing the weight of imposter syndrome at least a couple of times a week.
Wow.
Especially since becoming a dad, it can be exhausting, and some days it feels like I'm not good enough. But I've learned those moments of doubt, those perceived failures, are actually where growth happens. Each challenge has taught me something new, making me stronger in ways I never expected. If you're feeling the same, I know that you're not alone in this. It's okay to feel uncertain or overwhelmed. It's part of the journey. What matters is turning those difficult moments into lessons, using them as stepping stones towards something even greater. The struggles don't define us. How we rise after them does. So keep going, even when it's hard. You're stronger than you think."
Well, we should have saved that one for the end for Take This With You.
I mean, that's a take. Oh, sorry. I mean, I thought you meant for the end of this. That was the last message, but very, very, very good advice.
Yeah, I love
from Tommy there.
He's very good with his words, isn't he?
He is.
I feel like to hear from all of those people, they're all in quite different careers as well.
All very different careers, but all have kind of similar advice. Alto Key said, "Don't be so hard on yourself." I mean, to be honest, they've all had a kind of element of that.
Well, they've all basically answered the question. Yeah, they've all felt like giving up. So anyone in the creative industry listening to this, like, don't be hard on yourself if you have those.
It's almost a rite of passage
thoughts
in this industry. You almost have to go through that to know that it's definitely something you want to pursue. Because if you don't go through the difficult times where you're genuinely questioning whether this was the correct decision or not, then I feel like you will never truly know how passionate you are about it.
And I remember, if I remember correctly, going all the way back to Jack's episode, I might have got this wrong, but I feel like his "What Was I Made For" was about leaving something, like leaving...
Like a legacy.
Yeah.
It's difficult to remember.
I mean, if he did say that, hopefully I've quoted him correctly. But I think that is one of the things that I always think is the reward of being in the creative industry is no matter how many times you feel like giving up and however many times you feel like failing, you leave work behind. Like you've created something. And
it's there forever. That's
there forever. Whether it's discovered or whether anyone actually like listens, it is out there. Yeah. Like you live on. I think that it's even like this podcast. I actually had this conversation with Mel yesterday about like, oh, how's the podcast doing? And I kind of said to her, I was like, it's the only thing we've ever done that we genuinely, even though it would be lovely if it brought any sort of money in one day just to kind of support itself, if nothing else. So we weren't, it was breaking even or whatever. It's the only thing we've ever done that we've both agreed, if all it does is one day come to an end, like consciously come to an end, we consciously uncouple from it.
Yeah.
We will forever have this catalogue of interviews and you and me just having chats about these career paths that will be there forever.
Yeah.
Whether that just means that in our nursing home one day we're like, let's listen back, or if we have kids or grandkids or whatever, like people can listen back to this thing we created. That's the joy of it sometimes, is just making
Is leaving
stuff.
something behind.
Yeah.
Making your mark.
Time for Take This With You.
No, it's a slightly different Take This With You this week.
Ooh,
because
why?
I had a thought to myself the other day.
Yeah.
And I thought, that it was just a random passing thought, and I was like, sometimes, I mean, you know what my brain's like. I'm a very what's the word?
Complex
thinker.
Yeah.
I just have a lot of stuff going on all the time. So yeah, I had a thought and I wrote it down, and I thought that would be a good thing to turn into a Take This With You. So I basically bullet pointed the whole thing of what I wanted to say, and then threw it all into ChatGPT to help me out, make it sound more coherent and put it in a better way than I could.
Okay.
Positivity is like a social medicine. When you start sharing it, you'll be amazed at how quickly the energy around you begins to change. People and situations respond, often in unexpected ways, to even small acts of optimism and kindness. Not everyone will be open to it all the time, but as you keep showing up with positivity, you'll start to be seen as a force for good, and people will treat you differently because of it. Negativity, however, is like a virus. Complaints and frustrations can spread quickly, passing that weight onto others, who then carry it forward, often infecting more people. So be the remedy. Put out the best energy you can, even if it's just a bit brighter than yesterday. We all have tough days, but if you aim for positivity wherever you can, you'll notice how it transforms not only your relationships, but also your entire outlook on life. You like that?
I love that.
Good.
Publish that.
Well, I don't know if I can because I made it with ChatGPT, so...
Oh, does that mean it's not allowed?
So
what was it before? Positive is like
No, so I basically wrote it. That's pretty much exactly what I wrote. I just asked ChatGPT to write it in a much more like authored way.
Yeah.
Because I think I said positivity about 60 times in my one, and they've kind of made it sound a little bit more like a writer would write. But yeah, I thought that was a really good thought to have.
I love that. Well done.
Thanks.
Very good.
So take it with you, everybody.
Here's a task for everyone today.
Right. Go on then.
Your task is to turn around if you hit the next time you hear something negative. And by the way, there is a balance of, because there's toxic positivity too, which I learned about recently, which I think I might be.
Well, like patronising.
No, just like never, ever, ever, ever. Nothing's ever negative. You can't be.
Oh no, yeah, no.
Like
that's definitely not the way to go.
You also have to know when to like support somebody if they are down. But sometimes negativity is just unnecessary. Like when people are just like, oh my God, I can't believe blah, blah, blah. Next time that happens, see if you can, without insulting the person you're right,
or being
patronising, see if you can bring positivity to that person's day and see how it makes you. Flip a situation. Turn that frown upside down.
Try it for the next few days.
Yeah.
Try and be a little bit more upbeat.
Or find the positives in what you think is a negative. For example, me and Mel went to see a show last night and we went to the wrong venue. And we could have been very like annoyed about that. But like I said to her, I did need a wee really bad. So because we went to the first venue, I got to use the toilet. And then I got to ride a bus, which I haven't done in about 15 years.
Yep.
So we turned the negative into a positive as we went to the new venue.
Another example, my Inspiry diary was going away with my mates and it was a really nice time. But at the same time, I was kept awake by their snoring. I got 3 hours of sleep. And
That's a positive to a negative.
Just listen. I got 3 hours of sleep. But instead of waking up and just resenting them both for keeping me awake, I thought, no, we're all here together. We've all spent money on this. Let's not be resentful and hold it against them. Let's just have a nice time. And then I slept when I got home. Turn the negative into a positive.
And that is the moral of today's story. So from Skeleton
and Iron Man, get blessed.
Stop saying that. No one knows what that is. You don't even know what that is.
What does Iron Man say?
It doesn't matter. No one cares.
He says,
let's go, Iron Power.
Okay.
So that is it. I think I did this last time. Do you want me to do it again? Yeah, you always mess it up. That's it for another episode. Thank you so much for listening and watching if you're on YouTube and Spotify. We will be back again next week. But until then, don't forget to follow us on all of our social channels.
What was I made for pod?
Maybe send us an email. Don't forget there is some sort of giveaway at the end of this season for the best email. So get them in now.
Apparently 3 mugs.
Apparently. Send those to
whatwasimadefopod@gmail.com.
Thank you once again. We will be back again next Wednesday when we try to answer the question,
what was I made for? Happy Halloween, everybody. Let's go, Iron Power.